Alright. Hello everybody and welcome. This is Smart Kasi Vibes and I'm your host, Kahana Sudupane, and I'm here with a very, very special guest. We are here to introduce Mr. Sean Godoy. Mr. Sean, how are you doing, sir?
Very good, thanks KG. Really good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. It's been a long time coming and I'm excited that you're finally here. So we talk all things PropTech on this channel, and this is where the township meets technology, and so we're trying to get more insights on how we can introduce PropTech in our township community. So we're going to dive in straight into the conversation. Mr. Sean, please tell us what your background is in the journey towards the PropTech space, how you found the interesting space.
Sure, yeah, definitely. It's been a bit of a varied journey, but I've been quite fortunate, I think, to where I've ended up, and mainly it's the people that I've met along the way. But the journey started at WITS. I studied BSc Property Studies, and effectively I worked for my professor in my final year, and I got into sort of research and market analysis, and that's where my career took me for like the next 8 years. So I worked in Joburg for 2 years and then London for 4 years, and I worked for some of the big consultancies and then also some housing developers in London. And then with one of the companies, they had a partnership with the first PropTech VC in Europe, called PiLab. So I got exposed to that a bit in my last year in London. Got very interested in PropTech, especially as like a market trends analyst, because obviously a very big trend coming up. So then came back to SA. I always wanted to work for myself firstly, and the plan was always to return to South Africa. So I'm very proud South African, and also very passionate and interested in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I didn't have any long-term plans for London or anything like that. So I came back, started my consultancy around market research and like analysis, and then also training. Got into a lot of training with my contacts at BITS and the UCT, and also industry bodies. And then I've started, perhaps more recently, I've brought in PropTech to what I do. So I've done research with the Urban Real Estate Research Unit at UCT. That's Francois Veruli is one of the directors, and he was actually my professor, and also he's been my mentor effectively. At WITS, he moved from WITS to UCT, but I did a research report on the South African PropTech sector back in 2018, and then I did a report on the East African PropTech ecosystem. We chose Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So that's the research one, and then recently, so we're planning a training workshop on PropTech.
Who are you training particularly?
So this will be sort of open to the academic and real estate academic and industry. And it'll be basically anyone who's interested, not limited to those academia and industry, but anyone who's basically interested. And it is helpful for professionals like valuers, surveyors, asset managers, developers, property managers. Just to it gives you this, fairly concise introduction that can be quite helpful. So doing that, and then to round up, basically bringing, I don't say PropTech consulting, but like innovation, advisory, strategy. So very simply, that's just either a property company, a landlord, a property manager, or anyone else in the space, wanting to understand what is PropTech, what's out there, what products, local products, what international products, and then do I need them? Can they help me improve efficiencies and save money basically at the end of the day, and serve my clients better? Because if it doesn't do that, then there's no point.
There's no point,
And then also I'd love to work with PropTechs. I haven't done that yet.
So the entrepreneurs developing the stuff.
So hopefully one day have an accelerator, or incubator. But I think that'll happen.
Sure. No, I'm excited about that. I think I got to know you through your company Diversity,
Solutions.
Yes.
But I know you run a whole bunch of other associations and organizations that you founded, and that help spread the message of PropTech in the
Yes,
country.
yeah.
So tell us what are the exciting initiatives that you
Yeah.
have, maybe one for each company,
Yeah.
because there's quite a lot.
So yeah, there's, in terms of businesses, there's a consultancy, which is quite broad, like you see. I'm very collaborative, and I just love to work with other passionate people. And there's a lot of people who work independently and are partner, and then universities, organizations. So that's your diversity property solutions, like you said, not to be confused with the Diversity Urban Property Fund, which they developed Jewel City. So they're a fantastic, they're focused on the CBDs.
They developed.
Yeah, so really cool company. But I often get phone calls, I think that Diversity, the property fund. But so there's that, and then more recently I co-founded a PropTech platform called PropDD. This was beginning of last year, what was it, 23 or 20 or 21, end of 21. And that's an online platform for property due diligence for residential property. So when you're going to buy a property, it just helps you investigate that property properly, and it helps you make the right decision as a buyer. So that I've done, fascinating experience to conceptualize, to build something, to market something, to engage. Very early days still, we in there's all the different phases. You start, and then there's the valley of death, and we're kind of there, I guess. You've got to pivot,
sometime, and
find product market fit. So there's these terms that I've learned about recently. So there's that, and then the associations. So SA PropTech, we started it with my co-founder Wayne Berger in 2018, and very much community driven. So we didn't want to complicate it with formal structures and membership just yet. That might come, but we basically just engaged with other passionate people and companies, delivered events, delivered some content. So we were doing in-person before COVID, we did some webinars, and we had our first in-person event in May in Joburg since COVID, and we're doing one in Cape Town in February.
Nice.
So there's that. So basically just a platform and a voice. So if a PropTech comes to us, they want to do an event or do some sort of article together, or if it's an industry wanting to sponsor an event and help or get exposure, that's that. And then following in 2019, we co-founded PropTech Africa. Because there's a need, so it's a bit of an umbrella, focused mostly on sub-Saharan Africa, and there we just try again work with people on events and looking obviously outside South Africa, and then work with other bodies, other industry bodies, etc. So not to duplicate, we just partner, and it's all about audience, I think. So we just try, where we have similar goals, we partner, try leverage our network. So
that's an interesting, and it's quite a rich background that you have, because I think when I contacted you, I was like, let me contact the person who's at the helm of this space, in my view. He'll help me get in touch with all the other people.
Very kind. There's a number of really passionate, good people involved, but I've been fortunate, and I'm really passionate about it. So I feel like I've done my part for the community, and I just it's all about just growing. But it's really passionate, and it's impact at the end of the day, and a lot of social impact, which we're going to come to.
For sure. All right. So just for the viewer there that's watching, who doesn't know, what PropTech does, where it is, what's trending, which parts of it are impactful. In your view, which key areas of PropTech would you say are now literally, the trend or the booming market in terms of the impact that it has on society?
So PropTech, I guess just as a quick definition, there's lots of definitions. Basically, it's any tech-driven innovation activity focused on buildings or the property industry at large. And it's useful to break it down into the value chain, which again, there's different ways to look at it, but there's, before the asset is delivered, there's design and build. So a lot of cool stuff happening there, like digital twins, and a lot of construction technologies really seems to be coming into its own. So in terms of that, it's content basically, but a lot of that is building materials and construction methods that are quicker and cheaper. So that ties in a lot to affordable housing, which is quite exciting. for cities in South Africa and the rest of Africa and other regions. Just a side note, like Southeast Asia and South America, they also a mixture of complex and developing markets.
Okay.
And there's so much like similarities in economies, challenges, and then I really like to see PropTech activity there.
Yes.
And I've made an effort to try and make connections. So
For
with
us as
India,
well.
we've done some, like we connected with the Brigade REAP. They were the first PropTech accelerator there.
Okay.
But there's a number of really good bodies. So I really feel collaboration is key.
Yes.
So within Sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, but then with the other regions that are on the outlook. So there's that sort of design and build, and then you have the kind of finance investment, because developers now need to raise funding, or if if you're developing a building in Rosebank, or if you want to build a backroom or a backroom unit to rent, in your township or informal economy. There's you need to access finance and skills. So there's crowdfunding plays a part there, and then once assets are operating, then there's crowdfunding for investors. So you can you can put a little piece of money or a little bit of money into like direct real estate exposure. So CrowdProp does that. Easy properties with the easy equity. So again, that's good. So like socially, people who could never be exposed to real estate investment can have the opportunity. So again,
social impact.
Because there's obviously opportunities in, like I always say, there's like the first world parts of our economy. It's globally competitive. Our property industry is like very globally competitive, sophisticated. A lot of our companies, they've expanded obviously. So, but then you have the informal.
That's where we need to tap.
Yeah, and like Gigi Alcock, he wrote Casinomics. That's a really cool book, and he's really big on the Casi economy.
Okay.
So it's worth the people watching. So Casinomics.
Check out the book, guys, Casinomics, so that we gain more, of the perspective. But I want you to move over in terms of, gaining perspectives.
Yeah.
You spoke about a mind shift change, right, in one of your interviews that I watched, and you mentioned that like moving to PropTech is you sort of need a mindset change, so that the mindset change can drive the economic change, can drive the social change.
Yeah.
So speak to us a little bit about that, in case someone is interested in that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I think any sort of what you call like innovation or changes in industry, a lot of obviously recently last 20, what you could say 20, 30 years, it's been about technology. So that's what's driving change in industries. So businesses, professionals, how they conduct business, how they serve their clients, etc. The change has been technology driven. So a big thing around meaningful adoption and like meaningful exposure, for tech to take root is the mindset. So it's like slowly, and then it's all of a sudden it happens.
Second nature.
So with it's interesting. Fintech was ahead of PropTech in terms of it was like a leading trend in the banking finance sector. Banking and finance are very similar to property, like quite traditional, maybe a bit stuffy. So Fintech's obviously flown, and it's really interesting, starting in different countries, and like Africa is it's actually leading. A lot of products coming out of African countries are globally innovative.
And I know Kenya was at the forefront of that at some point.
It's a great example.
Yes.
It's GSM enabled. You don't even need a smartphone.
Wow.
So that's it's super
cool.
It's amazing. It meets the local challenge in a real way. Because sometimes you can import solutions, but homegrown is often best. And
the best.
For me, I want to see homegrown PropTechs thrive. Because again, it's all about local economy, jobs, skills. That can happen. There's been in SA. There's some good companies like MRI, the massive property management software company, bought MDA, and their property inspector came in from the UK. And they do well, they add, but homegrown is great. But to come back to that mindset, it's basically what happened in banking and that. In the beginning, everyone just thought it was a waste of time, and they're our systems work, we don't need this technology, especially if they were coming from these small startups. But obviously that changed. People have to be competitive, customers want more convenience. Now, online banking, payments technology has come a long way. But interestingly, SA is, we're not always behind the developers. In the US, the banking payment system is they still use checks, and it's crazy, man. Like,
really?
yeah, like you pay with your credit card, and they take. It's maybe changing. Like we have the machine, the tap your card or whatever.
Yes.
They take your credit card to the back and process the payment like after you leave, and it's just ridiculous. But so we like that's important. Is like we are innovative, and we build products that are globally competitive. We have first ideas.
Yes.
So that's important. But yeah, so it takes it's a lot of things. So you need advocacy like from the associations.
Yeah.
So like in Europe and Asia, South America, you see a lot of PropTech associations.
Sure.
Not in the US, which is interesting.
Wow.
I guess they just focus on making money. So
That's where they are.
the VCs like they kind of lead the conversation,
They run
which
the
also
show.
works.
Yes.
Research, advocacy, they do, But so you need people, the tech and real estate people, like kind of driving that advocacy. So like we did, it's like just make an event, bring people together, get them talking. So you need that, and then like the PropTechs need to know how to talk to the industry properly, and it'll happen gradually. Like it's inevitable, because then someone does it, and then all of a sudden their clients are getting a cheaper, better service. So what are you going to do? So banking happened, and then PropTech, also Fintech happened, and PropTechs. It's very much like on an interesting cusp. Like it's gathered lots of steam. The US leads, and then Europe is quite interesting. And like I said, Asia, South America, Africa, lots happening. But it's at a point now, especially in developing countries, and obviously looking at sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, SA, we had a tipping point. So in SA, there's been some really cool activity, and it's a good time to be getting into PropTech. And like I think I mentioned, I really want to see young founders, PropTechs, build something from scratch. We have some good established companies, but more needs to be done to support the ecosystem and young entrepreneurs. Like they need money. Like that's always a big stumbling block for startups. But so now we have Redimension Capital launched recently. They have PropTech focused VCs. That's great. But we need more like mentorship, and that's happening like informally. I think, like I try to do what I can, and there's the passionate people I work with. Like there's lots involved in our associations. People try to do their bit, but yeah, it'll be great to see an accelerator, an incubator. The first African accelerators in Lagos actually. So we want to see that soon in South Africa. Yeah, so it takes a lot of stakeholders, but it's also got to be right. Like your product can't just be pretty, shiny. It's got to work. So you really need real estate and tech to work together. And the PropTech providers, I always say they need to know how to speak to property folks. Because often they say, they're outdated and they just don't get it. But you're like, they've built successful businesses over decades. And they still do good business. It's like, why do I need you? And if you come with the wrong attitude, it actually damages that mindset.
And the reputation then now goes to waste. I see. I think we can then tap into some of the challenges that we see in the townships in terms of things we spoke about, adoption. What are the challenges that you see in terms of? I know I've seen a few. I can share them with you. So I was walking around Soweto, Pimville, and Alexandra just recently created a vlog there. And I was walking around and I was seeing that there's not. Some people are apprehensive towards the technology, and they sort of also have this weird situation around the technicality of onboarding. We use apps and things like that. So I looked at that. I was like, well, if the onboarding process seems so onerous, why don't we help them simplify that process, because they have access to the internet. Most of them.
And it's getting better.
And it is getting better. So I was exploring things like basic things like WhatsApp. To sort of create a trustworthy, streamlined process through that. I don't know how far it can take us, but I was looking at that to say, look, why do we have to have people go through downloading and all those things? Because in the township, really,
and data is expensive.
Data is expensive, and the storage on the phones, things like that.
You don't need to.
True. So tell me what are your ideas on the challenges there?
Well, I think it's great that there's such a disconnect between I said first of all part of the economy, but like the formal and informal, and it's great, and it's not that it doesn't happen. There's a lot of like big business that they've walked the streets. The banking, I think like Time Bank. You have developers like McCormick. They do time retail. There's a big, and that's actually, I think it's James McCormick. He's a big advocate of the informal township economy as well. So you need people to walk the streets. Like if you're dealing with property, you can't sit at your computer.
True.
And also when you're dealing with informal markets, you can't do like run a Instagram campaign.
No.
Like you got to speak to people.
Yes.
Like, and then you realize like, oh, this is what people need, and this could make a difference. So yeah, big things for barriers for say tech in general.
Sure.
Any consumer market or business is education. So you see, and that's basically the onboarding.
Yes.
So getting them to trust and understand, and it's something different. So you got to understand that okay, people they're not going to grasp this, and straight away they'll mistrust it.
Yes.
So any good South African, you mistrust something to begin with. Like,
Something new.
It's good practice. It's good practice.
Yes,
You should do
it
it seriously. Even if you're living overseas, you should do that.
Yes.
So you got to build trust, and through that trust you build education.
Sure.
And then a brand, And the best is, you just said like WhatsApp technology. There's some really cool startups and product services that run through WhatsApp.
Sure.
Because if WhatsApp has an 80% penetration in the like informal market, it's a great platform.
True.
And there's a lot of, I've come across social entrepreneurs delivering like healthcare advice to mothers, I remember. They do it through WhatsApp or even SMS. So you reach people like where they are. So you don't say, oh, let's lay fiber cables, like give people cheap smartphones. Like, yeah, that's good. And I know it's happening. We have locally made smartphones. And I just read, actually, I shared an article this morning about pay-as-you-go fiber. There's a company called Fibre Town, and they're targeting these
informal markets as well.
Because data, like mobile data is good, but if fiber can be cheaper and more accessible and it's more reliable, like
Funny
so
you say.
you could create that foundation.
Yeah, I was walking around Alex the other day and I saw this company called Vuma.
Yes,
They were installing fiber on the street.
Okay, really?
And what I like about them is that they're not only like installing it and then you don't know where Vuma is. So they put up a little marquee, right? So people can, like a info desk.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think what we struggle with is that some of the time we think, okay, create the Proptech and then leave. Vanish.
Exactly.
I think be in the community in terms of physically present, just for that, education to take place a bit more seamlessly, I guess.
Yeah, you won't be successful otherwise.
You see.
Definitely. Even the payment technologies that are entering, like it's the same thing, like you say, they need to be there.
Yeah.
And like you need to speak to people. Like, so if you don't meet people where they are, so like M-Pesa in Kenya you mentioned, that basically people understood SMS and GSM, and then that was in the market, so they were very, very smart and they used that, and they built a good business, and it brought like really convenient ways to transfer money, pay money, and like much cheaper than banks for many people who need it. So for Township, it's education. And it's the right approach. So like you said, physical presence. And when you're doing your market research, like you have to do that when you launch any product. You go speak to people.
Sure.
And people like Fibre Town, that's good to hear about Vuma. I think that, the town banks perhaps and the payment technologies, they've done that. Like you need to get people, like the right people, passionate people to go in there.
That's lovely. And I think we've sort of covered the umbrella of the elements that go into building a smart cassie, because we are all about smart cassie vibes on this channel, right?
Yes.
And it's the connectivity first, right?
Yes.
The correct connectivity that works for the people, and then we move on to how they interact in their PropTech space, and then also at some point the transportation space. Because to create a smart cassie efficiently, you can't just have the PropTech space booming and then the taxi industry is still on cash. Those are some of the things that I think about constantly. I'm like, I don't like counting change when I'm in the front seat, because that's how I get there, right? Currently, and it's like, well, if I'm gonna change, the PropTech space, and me getting there is this hassle, that has to change.
See, that's a massive opportunity.
True.
And it's a very traditional industry, and it's difficult, but it's not
political as well. It's not impossible.
That's the other thing. It's not just like straight business, or there's social fabric, business political fabric. That's why you've got to, like, you fail. Like some companies have failed dismally, like even trying to enter South Africa or other African countries, because they come with the European or American mindset, and you're like, your product's only as good as people understand it or like they can use it. So and there actually is an app or platform that started for taxi payments. I saw that recently. Yeah, so that's a really,
I need
you
to-
could imagine, like
yeah.
that's a big market. I'm sure
Very
SnapScan
huge.
and Zappa have been looking at it.
True.
But again, it's the hardware connectivity with hardware as well.
Yes.
The right hardware,
The right
affordable hardware.
Nice. I think we'll tap into just a few last issues, and then we can call it a day. But tell me about you spoke about digital deeds registries. Now I'm really interested in that.
Yes. Yeah.
How does that change the game? Because
Yeah.
it's very slow
yeah.
currently.
It's big and
The paper system just doesn't work.
it's super inefficient. Yeah, there's a lot of value that's lost because
Yes.
it's developers, home sales, like people lose money basically.
Yeah.
Things don't happen quick enough. They lose deals, and then there's large portions of the market that are like the informal market.
Yes.
So there's the one side of like full blockchain digitization where the transfer happens on blockchain.
Okay. So
In reality, that's
your Bitcoins and
yeah.
Ethereums. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, that infrastructure, that technology. But that practically it's difficult because Bitcoin by its nature and crypto is decentralized. And like you do need public oversight, you need proper regulation. So like if they let that just happen, it would lead to massive fraud and money laundering.
Yeah.
So it takes time. So like it's happening in SA, these registry are working, I'm not sure their partners in various countries. Like in the UK it's the same as us. Like it's slow, it's inefficient, it's the same in most countries.
Okay.
But all of them are looking at elements of digitization that make sense.
Sure.
So it's the DJs who remain, but they want to digitize their processes. So it can have your like I said, a full digital DJ registry might be great one day, but like now just digitizing document like the title deeds, access and document information sharing.
Because the data from that.
Yeah. 100%.
The opportunity in the data is massive.
I've always said that 100%. Like if you digitize elements, make the data available, make processes digital, like the opportunity for PropTech is crazy, and it could like have a huge positive impact in the property industry.
Interesting.
So that's very exciting, and it has to happen in the right way.
Yes.
And public sector and the
Has to
legal
come in.
environment, regulation has to be.
Yeah.
Because you could argue the way like AR burst onto the scene this year,
Yes.
it's caused lots of problems because there's a lack of regulation.
Yeah.
And there's some very scary stuff happening like that's not great because it learns from people in the internet, but people in the internet
I'm not
always
really good
very
people.
nice.
Yes.
So very very exciting, especially for developing nations.
Yes.
And the last just thing I'll say is there's a consultancy, I think they're called 71.4, and they're housing research consultancy in SA, and then Sesso Global. They do housing listing transactions on blockchain. They did a trial, this was like a few years ago now, in Kailicha with RDP houses. They created blockchain title deeds.
Wow.
And they actually did a test and it's grown.
Okay.
So if the viewers are interested, that's cool because that's a real
71.4.
Yeah, the consultancy is 71.4 and then it's Sesso. So if you just Google like Sesso blockchain RDP,
probably find it. Okay.
But we could share links after as well. I guess.
Surely, please do.
So very, very exciting for developing countries and their housing markets, their lower income affordable housing.
Yeah, and I mean you've already touched on how government needs to come in and support some of these because it doesn't help you come up with these great ideas. Government doesn't want to support us.
No, exactly.
It just ends nowhere. And so I think I've done a few things on my channel. I've spoken about the stuff that other governments are doing for their PropTech industry. So I spoke about Singapore.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've spoken about Sweden. Sweden is a funny one.
Really?
It deals with mental health through PropTech, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so they found out that people are lonely, staying alone. So they said developers will give you money to build places in such a way that people can have more communality. So they really go that deep into their PropTech. Yeah.
And it's always interesting, they probably build on like a model that's, you were talking about Venda and how the villages are set up.
It's communal there
like
as well.
that, and it goes back, it's been around for like, who knows, like centuries.
For a long time.
How you set up the village, because the modern world has lost that.
True.
So that's fascinating.
Sure. So we've already touched on that. So, but now as we wrap up the conversation, I think we can touch on a few lighter notes.
Yeah.
not that what we said is not
yeah.
light. I mean, it is exciting, but it is it has challenges, and it needs to be explored in more the business mind side of things. So tell me, networking and events.
Yeah.
you've been going to some cool events. I've been seeing your timeline, not that I've been stalking. But yeah, how do people access some of these events? What do you do there?
Yeah.
For somebody who's interested in maybe going to events of
It-
PropTech and stuff.
There's great events, so like SA PropTech, like our events are free to attend.
Okay.
Anyone can attend. And we had the one in May in Joburg, we had young PropTech entrepreneurs. We had like a guy from Redimension Capital.
Okay.
The sponsor was a big tech company. So for that, if you just go to saproptech either .coza or .com, I can't remember.
Sure.
Probably .coza, but if you just register for the newsletter, whenever we have an event, we just send it out. And or follow us on LinkedIn.
Sure.
So those are like free to attend, and we try to do as many as we can. We're community driven, so
Yes.
it's time and resources, but they happen. We have got some good sponsors.
That's good.
And then there's really good industry bodies. So like a lot of these conferences, the big conferences, like SAPOA, or I was at the Real Estate Investment Summit on Friday. There's a couple of really good ones. Like students or young professionals. So if you're working, your company might send you, but I know for students, sometimes they make tickets available.
Sure.
So anyone who's passionate about like property and PropTech, the Cyber Young Professionals chapter organization, so a sub-chapter of Cyber, which is the SA Institutes of Black Property Practitioners.
Okay.
So they're actually having an event on Thursday evening on PropTech, and I'm taking part.
Yeah.
So I'd get in touch with
Those
them,
people, yeah.
and then also the Youth in Property Association. So yeah, the events are great, and they're great for networking. And if you go in there with an open mind, just to meet people, to learn from them, and not that you want something from them. That's
the key. Yeah?
That's the goal of networking. Like
Sure.
your intentions, it's very clear with people. So, and it's just the value of, you never know, you might meet someone, like have the connection, and years later something might come out of it, or you might be able to help each other somehow. But the main thing is learn from as many people as you can.
Sure.
Because their experience and advice is really valuable. So yeah, the events are great, but things like SA PropTech, Cyber Young Professionals, Ep1, those events are great, and they're all free.
Sure.
And you can become a member of like Cyber and Ep1, the student membership. I don't think it's paid for, and then as a young professional, even then, I'm not sure if it's paid membership. Like because it's outreach by the mother body. So yeah, those I would suggest that because the big conferences are pricey, and unless your company will sponsor you. But we've got those are really good bodies for property and youth in South Africa.
Okay, thank you for that. I think a lot of people would benefit from such, because you wonder, where do I start in terms of networking with people for this idea that I have in PropTech or whatever the case may be.
Those are great points to start.
Surely. Okay, so just any last advice for upcoming entrepreneurs who want to start something in PropTech? Just maybe 1, 2, 3. Key pillars that they should focus on.
I think firstly, so if you're conceptualizing an idea, or you have your idea, like it's got to be built on like firm principles and fundamentals. So like it has to be solving a real problem or serving a real need. Like say payments technology for taxes. It's a very obvious solution that could benefit everyone.
Yes.
So that's first of all, it has to solve a real problem. Next, like your networking community, like we just spoke about, is crucial. So like meet as many people as you can. Connect. Like what you're doing is great. So like connect with people like AG.
That's right.
And like you can connect on, or like myself or my other partners in like SA PropTech. People are quite approachable.
Sure.
So you go out onto LinkedIn, like you did with me.
Just email.
Yeah, and like people are very busy, they might not respond, but like there's a lot of people who will make time.
Sure.
There's like Wayne Berger and Patrick Katabua, Sarah like Golding. We've got some great people who work with us in the association. There's many others out there. But try to speak to people. Like I said, don't get offended if they don't respond. But community is key, and access what's there. Those communities I mentioned, like Cyber and Cyber Young Professionals and Ep1, make use of what's there. Like really, because that's what those bodies are about. They want to connect. And then I would say the tech and the property is important. So you've got to understand both. So if you're from tech, make an effort to speak to property people. And if you're a property person, you've got to get involved with the right tech. So that's what I think I'd say.
That's lovely advice. It's actually solid. So I think we're about to wrap up now, and I think the only thing I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
you is, what do you do for fun? I mean, you're running all these small companies and
Yeah.
associations, attending events. I mean, that's work,
Yeah.
right? So on a Sunday, what is Sean doing?
It's like a lot of it's family time. So I've got a young son, so it's seeing extended family. It's being with my son and friends.
Sure.
Very important for friends, and everyone's busy these days. It's hard.
True.
You've got to make an effort to see people. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We like it's like having a braai, or we like traveling and like going away. We're in the bush this weekend.
Nice.
So that's a big thing for me. And then the other thing, what I really love is like walking around the city.
Okay.
Like that's me and my kind of happy place.
All right.
I love the Joburg CBD and Rosebank, and I like to work in those places.
Okay.
And then when I have a break, I walk. So then that's my kind of self-reflection time.
Nice.
So yeah.
Okay. No, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I think you've dropped a whole lot of gems in this one video. I just hope we can consume them all, and really go after the opportunities that are out there. And guys, this has been Smart Kasi Vibes. We've been with Sean Godoy, an industry expert, also a PropTech enthusiast like myself. So please, if you did come up to this part of the video and you like what you see, do comment, and what do they do on YouTube? They comment, and they share. What else do they do? They subscribe.
Oh, subscribe, not like. Yeah. Subscribe.
They subscribe. Right.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sean will send us some links, and we'll put them in the description down below.
Yes, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yes. So please do check those out as well, and we'll be with our next guest. So after this, I'm gonna ask you to ask me a question that you'd like me to ask our next guest.
Oh, okay.
See, but we're gonna keep that a secret from them because they might be watching. See,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll do that. All right, guys. We've come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we're out.